Bisher, thanks for your time. Now we talk about cryptocurrencies. People are scared. People are not so sure how to buy. Some people are experts and say it's the future. What can you tell us? And obviously your company you work with is Stormrake, who have partnered with The Ballsy Show for anyone who is interested. Can you take away some of that angst, I guess, is the best thing for anyone who's looking to invest in crypto? And we've seen in the markets over the past few days have been jumping around a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people have been coming to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets slowly but steadily over the last few years, and we're seeing quite a different type of investor. Before, it used to be almost exclusively the realm of retail speculation. We're seeing now institutions getting involved, Wall Street's getting involved. We're seeing nation states getting involved in Bitcoin. I mean, the United States has a strategic Bitcoin reserve now, so it's not as obscure of an asset as it used to be. We've built a firm in order to demystify what cryptocurrency and Bitcoin investing looks like. Rather than having to go through a multitude of different platforms, getting set up, you don't know who you're dealing with, we've provided a real human service to access this market that can be a little bit daunting and of course a bit overwhelming for new participants and new investors. But we've got a dedicated Melbourne office. People can pick up the phone, speak to a broker, and have them get a dedicated handheld service right from the onboarding to the investing. And as to why should they even be making an investment in the first place, rather than just kind of saying, here you go, have at it, here's a platform, help yourself. We want to actually give our clients informed education and so that they can make informed decisions around what Bitcoin looks like in their portfolio.
You said a couple of key words then. It was effectively along the lines of what pricked up to me that it was like a broker, so like an insurance broker, so to speak. So is that what you guys do? Because many of people in the past I've used CoinSpot. In comparison to those big Binance/CoinSpot, how do you differ?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, for us, the major difference that we provide is one, personalized service. A lot of these places, we use exchanges ourselves, and this is not me to disparage exchanges. They do a great job. CoinSpot has on-ramped close to 1 million people into crypto and Bitcoin, so they've done a great job. Binance, Coinbase, they're these large institutions, large crypto platforms, but you're really set to your own devices. You get no support, no help, no guidance. You get onboarded into this platform, and all of a sudden you see Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, streaming prices, charts, markets, and you're like, what is actually even going on? What am I meant to be doing? So for us, what we've come in and done is provided that personalized human service. So that way you know exactly what investment decisions that you can make when it comes to your cryptocurrency choices. And secondly, we provide quite sharp pricing. So not only would you get a better level of service, but you get more bang for your buck. What I mean is on CoinSpot, they charge what is known as a price markup or a hefty spread, where you're buying well over the current market price, somewhere between 1.5 to 2.5% over the market price before you even have paid a single fee, whether that be transaction, deposit, or withdrawal fees. Whereas with us, we provide a flat fee service where you can come in, buy, sell, or swap. You're not going to be getting hidden nasties along the way, and you get the best possible market price. So what that means for the average investor is that you come in, you get a better level of service, and number two, you're getting much better pricing. So that means that your Aussie dollars purchases you more Bitcoin per transaction. And ultimately, that's what you're looking for. And vice versa, when you're looking to sell and you're looking to sell Bitcoin for Aussie dollars, you're looking for the maximum amount of Aussie dollars. And that's what our service is for in a
So
nutshell.
effectively, Bisher, what you're saying is if you're in the insurance market, you've got an insurance broker getting the best deal possible and breaking it down for you. If you're in the home loan market, you've got a home loan broker doing the same thing, and you're doing what crypto's in that crypto market.
Yep, 100%. I mean, it's to pardon the borrowing of the pun, but compare the meerkat, you remember that one?
Yeah.
Compare the market. It's like that because for us, we're plugged into about 30 exchanges and 5 OTC desks, what is known as private markets, which allows us to get the best possible price. So we're exchange agnostic. They provide a fantastic service, but I might trade on Binance when it comes to executing your trade or CoinSpot or Coinbase. It just depends on whoever's providing the best price on the day. And more often than not, we're actually securing trades off market, which means that your trade doesn't go through an exchange or an order book. It's secured privately, securely, and with absolute discretion. And then we can put your assets into cold storage with us or to transfer it to you.
A lot of people now talk about the fear, the worry of being hacked. Guilty, Your Honour. You know, it's not money, decentralized, centralized. What can you tell us, and why is this, do you think, the future?
It that's a fantastic and cracking question, my friend. A lot to unpack there. I mean, the reason why it's the future is that first of all, technology and monetary trends very rarely, if ever, go backwards. So, for example, going back to yesteryear, we used to trade seashells for goods and services. Now, obviously, that wasn't super sustainable because what ended up happening is a bunch of people would go down to the beach, collect seashells instead of producing goods and services. So that didn't work. Then we moved towards gold and silver coinage, which worked for a long period of time. But the problem that it had, gold and silver is fantastic assets, don't get me wrong. I hold some myself, but they required massive amounts of centralization to operate at scale. So they started to issue paper notes that were gold and silver certificates that said, back in the day, if you have one of these US dollars, it allowed you to access 1 ounce of silver, right? Why is the GBP or the Great British Pound known as the pound sterling? It's because back in the day, £1 got you a pound of silver. Now, today, in today's purchasing power, 1 GBP doesn't even get you a gram of silver. That's how much they've debased and devalued their currency. So the reason why I say it's the future is that it solves the problem of currency debasement and it solves the problem of governments issuing currency and debasing the purchasing power of the common man. Because I'll be honest with you, Warren, if I had access to a currency printer and I could print it and not be called the counterfeiter, I would be printing it too, right? I'm not trying to be holier than thou, but that's what the government does every single day. They go out, they rack up massive budget deficits that they cannot possibly sustain, and to cover the difference, they just print a boatload of currency. So why is it the future? Is that it separates money from the state and it puts the power and the control of the asset back into the hands of the people. And that for me is a liberation. It's a revolution. It's not just another technology that you might have to learn like the internet or a smartphone. There is a technological component to it to learn about. But for me, it's a monetary revolution that allows us to separate our purchasing power from the government, and they can't tell us what to do. And that, for me, as a freedom fighter, is really important.
Now, take that a little further. 2009, we all wish we could have got into Bitcoin. You may have got in that early. I did, certainly did.
2016 for me.
Yeah, so now it sits at around $150,000 Aussie. Or is it too late? And then, if not, what other things do you look for with people? Because a lot of people are talking about ISO 2022 tokens, XRP, XLM, XDC, and IOTA and the like. Can you give us obviously not being financial advice, but what is the market dictating and people are looking at? Because it seems as if we're on the cusp of a seismic change in the US when it comes to some of the laws that Donald Trump's about to pass in terms of cryptocurrency to make them almost a base what do you call it, financial basis for people to invest in.
Absolutely. I mean, look, for me, the crypto market begins and ends with Bitcoin, right? To be honest with you, when Bitcoin goes up, the rest of the crypto market goes up. If Bitcoin's going down, the rest of the cryptocurrency market goes down, but a lot further. So Bitcoin is your barometer. Bitcoin is the yardstick in which you should be measuring your cryptocurrency performance by or your cryptocurrency portfolio by. Because if you're investing in, say, things outside of BTC, but underperforming it or not getting a better return, you've actually taken on more risk to underperform the market. So for me, it's really simple. I always tell my clients, you're not late to Bitcoin. People look at the unit price of Bitcoin at 100,000 US, 155, 160,000 Aussie and think, I've missed the boat, right? If you had that mentality when it came to Australian real estate, when prime real estate in Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney was going for a bag of potatoes back in the 70s and 80s, then you would have missed one of the most generational bull runs of all time. Aussie property has been going up for pretty much 40 years in a straight line with, minor corrections along the way. But that's what we're seeing with Bitcoin. We're watching Bitcoin become monetized in real time. We're going to watch Bitcoin go from 100K to $1 million over the next 5 to 8 years. People thought I was crazy when I was calling for Bitcoin to go to 100,000 when it was 1 grand. They looked at me like I had horns coming out of my head going, what are you talking about? I said, mate, this is a monetary asset in the making. It's like being able to buy gold for a couple of $100 back in the day. Now it's trading at 5,000 Australian dollars, just an ounce of gold. 31 grams of gold trades for 5,000 Australian. All right, get your head around that number. So for me, Bitcoin going and up to $1 million per BTC makes perfect sense because one, the government is never going to stop printing currency. They're going to continue to debase it over and over again. You've got an asset which has got a limited supply of 21 million, and you've got an increasing demand. So only 7% of the planet is actually using cryptocurrency day to day and using Bitcoin day to day. Imagine if that just goes from 7% to 15%, right? That would take it to $500,000 pretty much overnight. You look at the real estate market in Australia, global residential real estate is worth $330 trillion, guys. The market cap of Bitcoin is just two, right? Let's say, for example, because governments around the world are just taxing property like no tomorrow, land tax here in Australia has gone up by a factor of 4 in the last couple of years. So that's no small measure of change, right? They're coming after people's property. They're coming after people's property taxes. It's becoming almost unsustainable to hold real estate. Now we've got a government that wants to tax unrealized capital gains within super funds. That will come to your live-in real estate, your owner-occupied real estate as well. So what's the alternative? We hold the Bitcoin, we invest in the BTC, and that will allow us to capture as much value as possible to go to the upside.
Okay, so what does that look like? You got a super fund. You might have a little bit of money to play with.
Mm-hmm.
How does that effectively dodge the capital gains situation as well?
It's a good question. Right now, Bitcoin is still treated as a taxable asset under CGT, so it is under capital gains tax, at least here in Australia. Because Bitcoin is a globally recognized asset and it can move with you in your pocket with just a simple thumb drive like a Ledger or a Trezor, it allows you to move your asset base offshore if you ever want to, right? So let's say you have an offshore trust, or let's say you've gone and decided to domicile yourself outside of Australia. Because Bitcoin's decentralized and globally recognized at the same time, it means that your wealth can move with you. If you have enough and the Australian tax system is just giving you no breaks between inflation and taxation, you're left with nothing. And you're like, you know what? I can improve the quality of my life by going to Thailand or Malaysia or somewhere in Southeast Asia where, mind you, they have no capital gains tax on cryptocurrencies and they have a pretty good quality of life and it's cheap. You're like, you know what? Why don't I just go there, right? And the assets move with you. So whilst it's in or captured by the Australian tax system, you do have to pay your CGT. You have to report and declare your tax earnings, whether it's property, shares, crypto, precious metals. It all falls under the Australian tax net. But if you say, you know what, enough's enough, I want to move over and I want to have my assets come with me, you can't do that with real estate. You can do that maybe with precious metals, but up to a certain size. You can't do that with shares, definitely not, because they're Aussie, especially if you're buying Aussie shares. So what fits into that category of portable, divisible, fungible, globally recognized? It's Bitcoin. And that's how you can protect your wealth from a government that's trying to tax you into poverty.
Now, we talk about with these unrealistic, so unrealized should be unrealistic, but it's unrealized capital. I spoke to Alex Antic on this podcast about a week ago on this stuff, and he says that the way it's looking, and says he, a Liberal senator, the way we're going and the unaffordability and what we're seeing in America, America's trying to change things up, whether you like Trump or not. But it appears that no capital gains tax on cryptos. He's effectively got rid of tips, taxing on that. So it looks like he's trying to turn the wheel in a different way, whether it's right or wrong. Do you think we'll follow the same way? And do you see a day where potentially the market then ushers a lot of people into crypto so that it is a viable currency, so to speak?
It's really funny because Bitcoin ethos, it was built as an anti-government currency, right? And an anti-government network. So people waiting for the government to approve it and not come after it from a taxation perspective to invest in it, it doesn't really make much sense to me. I think from my perspective, we won't follow the Americans. Us Aussies, we love our social programs. We have one of the most bloated NDIS programs in the world. It's ripe for a lot of extortion, rort, fraud. It's not good. It's not good. Like the way our government is set up, they they need the public to buy in to whatever imaginary laws they're going to be pushing through, such as unrealized capital gains. And so for me, I don't see us following the United States, but that doesn't concern me too much, right? People have a right and a responsibility to protect themselves and their interests. If your government is coming after your asset values, even before you've gotten a single dollar of profit, you have a right to explore alternative options, right? Bitcoin fits into that category as an alternative asset, and you can always protect yourself by offshoring your assets. I can tell you now, Australia's top 1%, the billionaire class, the Packers, the Reinhardts, they're not paying a cent of unrealized capital gains. I'll tell you that now, right? In fact, politicians have marked themselves as exempt from the law of being taxed from unrealized capital gains. So that tells you how much of a big club it is, and you're not in it. So for me, I just remind my clients whenever we hear some really some chicanery going on with the government, I say, look, protect yourself with alternative decentralized assets, and then just watch and wait and see what they do, because we can't control their actions, right? They are apparently our elected officials, but acting completely rogue and without the interest of the Australian people. So you have a responsibility to protect yourself and your family's interest by looking at other options.
Well, you talk about those other options. Crypto is now becoming more mainstream, but it obviously still there's that scare factor for people. For someone who might want to, who's listening to this chat, might go, "Hey, let's give Stormrake a go, and let's give Bisher a call." I can have I'll put the links down below in this chat so you can get straight through. But what does that look like for the person? They pick up the phone, they register online, and how does the process work? What's the minimum contribution or investment in this? And yeah, can you take us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for our clients, especially for those who haven't yet onboarded, send us an email, give us a phone call. We're there to walk you through the process, right? At the end of the day, making an investment into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin can be a little bit concerning or maybe even overwhelming for first-time investors. And that's why we've built a service to on-ramp you into the space. What that means is you'll get a dedicated broker who's going to be servicing you and your family of accounts, because you might have your individual, self-managed super, corporate discretionary trust, whatever it may be, and we'll take care of that whole group for you. And then we'll get you invested into Bitcoin through a simple phone call or email. Our minimum investment or minimum transaction is $2,000, whether you're choosing to buy, sell, deposit, or withdraw. It's just a 2K minimum. A lot of our clients, they come in and say, look, I'm in, I want to get started, I want to buy some Bitcoin, but I just don't want to go all in yet, which is perfectly fine. Anything above 2K is accepted, and a lot of people start with the minimum investment just to get their feet wet, understand what it is they're about to dive into, and then once they've understood the process, which is, again, couldn't be any easier, you pick up the phone, say, Bish, I'm keen on learning more, I've just sent you 2 grand, buy me some Bitcoin, job's done. What we also provide is for people who want to get more regular market updates, just let your broker know about that at the time on the initial consultation, and we'll subscribe you for free to our morning note, which is just a really easy read in the morning with a cup of tea or coffee. You get an understanding of what we're seeing for the day ahead. You can give your broker a call on a regular basis or request that they call you once a week or once a month, whatever schedule suits you best, and we'll give you a market update based off our perspective. Now, I'm relentlessly bullish, so people will always call me and be like, Bish, is it a good time to buy? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then they're just like, when are you going to say it's not a good time to buy? I'm like, look, at the same time, like, give you some real examples. Bitcoin went below 100K recently with the concern, the geopolitical concern that was going on between Iran, Israel, America. Is this going to evolve into a much bigger conflict? Bitcoin obviously reacted to the news on a Sunday during a pretty illiquid session. It went from about 103 down to 99. On Monday morning, we started calling our clients and going, look, whilst there is a lot of volatility and a lot of concern and fear in the marketplace right now, now's a good time to be taking a small bite out of the market, because I think that the response is a bit overblown and the market will most likely find some resilience and some support at these levels. Plus, both Iran, Israel, and the US don't want to go into a protracted war. Will most likely come to a solution pretty soon. Overnight, bang, they talked about a ceasefire solution. Bitcoin went up to 105K. So for me, it's not so much timing the market that is important, whilst we do provide that service. It's your time in the market. If you came into Bitcoin in 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 2023, even 2024, you've been rewarded, right, for coming through to the market. But you have to spend the time in the position rather than trying to chop and change your way in and out, because you'll pay me a lot in transaction fees, right, which is great for me, but not good for you, because what you end up doing is helping me getting a new Mercedes. But that's not the point of having a broker. I'm trying to guide you guys to get your wealth increased through cryptocurrency. You get rewarded for holding, I get rewarded for transacting. So I encourage my clients to have an investor first mentality rather than trying to day trade this stuff.
Well, you talk about that opportunity, for extra information. For me, I see all these people on X and Instagram going this chart and this high and this low and all this stuff. Is there a Bogan's version of training for people who don't have the professional eye? Because I find it interesting. Clearly, Bitcoin and crypto flies when there's consumer confidence, as you're saying, whereas gold and silver flies when there's the opposite. When we've got wars, we've got uncertainty. So part of that training, would that include learning how to read charts or understanding your thinking so they could maybe spot it themselves?
Absolutely. We have a dedicated education section on our website. We have dedicated research that we give you updates on what's happening with specific coins as well. I mentioned the morning note earlier where you get to subscribe for free. All of this is provided complimentary for you to learn more about what's happening in the markets day to day, as well as actually understanding basic principles. And the best part about it is that rather than having to watch a video and read an article, which we do provide lots of, you can just pick up the phone and go, hey, Bish, mate, I just want to get a bit of a lay of the land. What do you think is happening right now? Give me an update, right? And we can provide that for you and walk you through that one-on-one. So I'm not going to make it difficult for you. Yes, you can read our articles. Yes, you can watch our educational videos, and they're fantastic. But the whole point of our service is that you can come straight to the source and say, can you give me a bit of a crash course in X and Y and Z, right? And we can provide that to you on the phone directly straight away. Or if you want it to be a bit more longer format, we can curate the right content that you need to be looking at and send that to you.
Yeah. Well, that makes a heap of sense. I guess from the next perspective for people would be, you've talked about the upside. Is there any hidden nasties? Because, anyone who has previously purchased crypto, you leave it on a hosting channel, whether it's a CoinSpot or Bitcoin, and sits there and everyone says it's not as safe as money in the bank. Then you go, well, maybe we use a cold wallet and get it off externally. What do you guys do and what do you guys offer from that perspective of security?
Yeah, I mean, bang on question, my friend. So really what it boils down to is don't trust your counterparties, right? That includes us, right? The beauty about our service is you don't need to trust us. In fact, any good Bitcoiner will always say, don't trust, verify. So for you, holding your own coins in your own cold wallet, for example, like a Trezor or Ledger, is a far better solution than leaving it on an exchange. What we've done is we've provided our own custody solution to our clients where they can choose to hold the assets the same way I hold my assets. And what you'll receive, the best way I could describe this, there's a public wallet address that each of our clients receive that is unique to them. Think of it as a BSB and account number. Now, what you can do because Bitcoin's a public, transparent blockchain is you can check if that wallet address has the holdings that we say you have. So, for example, Ballsy, you come to me and say, I'll buy one Bitcoin. Done. You make a $160,000 investment and you've got one Bitcoin now. We put that for you in our dedicated cold wallet. And you can see for yourself that the one Bitcoin that we purchased for you, which is reflected in your portal, your Stormrake portal account, is reflected in the public wallet address. And that's a level of security and insight and overview that you wouldn't get otherwise from, say, traditional assets like the stock market and the like. You can, for yourself, fact check if our holdings are where we say they are. And the great thing about Bitcoin as well is that you can see transfers in and transfers out. So it's not just about me providing you a little bit of window dressing and saying, here you go, mate, here's your one Bitcoin. And then you just see it disappear and it moves on and does other things. You've got ultimate peace of mind because you can see your assets in real time. Now, if you want to withdraw and hold it yourself, you can, but we give you both of those options for security.
Now, you've mentioned Bitcoin a lot. Other options, big names that people talk about. They talk about Tether. They talk about XRP with this the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, taking to court for many years, and now it looks like that has been resolved, but it hasn't been finalised. Do you see opportunities like that where people could jump in at a lesser price than 160,000 Aussie for a Bitcoin, where they could also get some decent uplift?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, for example, we're big and bullish on two categories of tokens. The ISO class of tokens, something we really like here at Stormrake. XRP, XLM, XDC, you mentioned them before. A couple of them that kind of get fly by the radar is Hedera, Hashgraph, and Algorand, HBAR and Algo. I'm really bullish on those two as well. Quite cheap relative to other assets as well. And then the other category of tokens that I'm bullish on are layer one smart contract platforms. Think of things like Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and Sonic. So for me, as a crypto broker, I look at cryptocurrency investing as a whole, and I look at it in the most holistic manner possible. We build the house or the foundation on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the most stable asset in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. It's been around for 16 years and it's got the most amount of upside with the lowest amount of risk. Then you layer on top of that, ISO tokens, and then you add on the layer ones as well for further upside, for further exposure. But that's the way I construct my portfolio and my clients can follow. But the best part about our service, it's kind of DIY. If you want to follow my portfolio and follow my guidance, I'm happy to provide that to you. If you just want to come in and use our service as just execution only, and you want to get proper pricing, then you can come do that as well. You can say, Bish, I'm not interested in Bitcoin. All I want is 100% XRP. And I'll say, job's done. Happy to do it for you.
Well, Bisher, appreciate your time, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support of the Ballsy podcast too. And for anyone who's interested, I'll put all the links below, which will take you straight to Stormrake and also the Ballsy link. So then you can be a part of the family and invest in that way. But appreciate your time. And for something that some people are getting a grip of, I'm certainly starting to learn this industry. I'm late to the party, but as you say, you're never late.
Absolutely, my friend. And I really appreciate you giving me the time to have a chat with you.
Thanks to Bisher from Stormrake. He's got a special introductory offer for the Ballsy Show listeners. It's 33% off the brokerage fees. So if you're interested, we'll attach the link below.